welcome to a special Christmas story time. This story time is for all ages, and I'm going to be reading The Pennsylvania Dutch Night Before Christmas by Chet Williamson, illustrated by James Rice. And this book is written in a Pennsylvania German dialect accent, so there's going to be some language notes in the description below. I'll give you a few of the words straight off. For example, Dopplich is clumsy, Strublich is like messy, and Griestlich is grumpy. This story features the Belschnickel, who is sort of like the Pennsylvania German Santa Claus. So here's a quick note on the Belschnickel. In Pennsylvania Dutch country, the Belschnickel often replaces Santa Claus. The Belschnickel is a crotchety old man, thin and bearded, wearing a long coat that comes down to his feet. In one hand he carries a bag of treats, and in the other he has switches, apparently to spank bad children, though there is no recorded occurrence of this ever happening. Instead of coming down the chimney, the Belschnickel usually knocks on the door and is admitted by the parents. The Belschnickel then grills the children on their behavior during the past year. Though he may frighten them with the switches, all get treats, and it is this Belschnickel who has been blended with the more widely known Santa Claus in this story. It was night before Christmas, and all over the farm, nothing was schustlich, no cause for alarm. The socks were all hung by the chimney, just so, with the hopes they get filled up from ankle to toe. The nixed nooches snoozin' without any sound. In their heads clear toy candies been dancin' around. And Mama and me, well, we out in the light, crawled under the covers and snuggled up tight. Then from the outside we heard something fierce that made open our eyeballs and rattled our ears. There was crashing and banging, and could it be true? Did our ears deceive us, or was that a moo? Then off to the window we ran in the dark, kicked the dog accidental, he started to bark. Then we looked through the window, coming in through the gate. It wasn't one mooer we saw, it was 8. 4 cows and 4 steers, they were harnessed somehow, and were dragging behind them an old-fashioned plow. And there, just behind it, as sour as a pickle, was a fella we knew had to be the Belschnickel. He wiggled that plow to keep going on course. I think he'd done better if he'd had a horse. So Dopplich and slow those 8 doomers did run, and he growled and he grumbled and yelled at each one. Now Jakey, now Becky, now Rachel, Josiah, on Minnow, on Sarah, Esther, Obadiah. And watch where you're going, there's nothing unwiser than stamping your hoofs into stray fertilizer. They got through the barnyard without any hitch, and the Belschnickel grumbled and raised a big switch. Climb up on that roof now, and you make it snappy. You don't want to make me no more unhappy. Knocked off on that trellis, then to the porch roof, and don't get no ivy wines caught in your hoof. I'll get awful griestlich if you make me fall. So clamber up, clamber up, clamber up all. Would you like to have a bunch of cows on your roof? Like the chickens all look when they're to fly they are trying, or the mess kids are making when shoes they are tying. So clumsy they climbed up an inch with each moo, but somehow they made it, and it wonders me too. And then in a twinkle we heard on the roof each cow that was rooching around stamping its hoof. The cracks of the roof timbers filled all our ears, 'cause it just wasn't built for 4 cows and 4 steers. By now all the kiddies had run in our room, frightened by all of those cracks and those booms. To tell them what happened I was going to begin, when choop and chee zooey, the ceiling fell in. Down came the Belschnickel plop on our bed, a few shingles making down right on his head, and when we looked up through the hole in the ceiling, it was just a little bit worried we're feeling. For there overhead was that 8 head of cattle, still stomping so hard that it made the walls rattle. We felt as if we'd all been cursed and were hexed, and that cows would fall down into our bedroom next. But on the roof stayed, and I wiped away sweat, then looked at the scary old Belschnickel yet. He had got to his feet and was brushing his breeches, holding his sack and using his switches. He was dressed all in black from his toes to his hat, and he frowned and said, "Hey, what are you looking at? Ain't you never seen no Belschnickel before?" Well, I had, but the others had come through the door. His beard was all strulick, as white as snowfall, and his belly so skinny it nearly was all. I couldn't help thinking that this crabby guy could use a few dumplings and shoe-fly pie. His eyes, they looked angry, but though they seemed wild, when he looked at the kiddies, he just sorta smiled. Then he wiped it away like he'd made a mistake, or for him some schnitz und nap Mama should make. Then he asked all the kiddies, "Have you been bad or sweet? If it's good that you've been, then I'll give you a treat. But if you've been bad, then I'll warm your britches with one of my special bad kitty switches." They said they'd been good, and were telling the truth. Still, he glowered at Amos. He grimaced at Ruth. He frowned down at Abner, who just kinda grinned, and the Belschnickel leaned down and tickled his chin. "Ach, crabby I might seem, but don't you forget, I ain't never had to spank one kitty yet. It just must be something around in the air, makes the kiddies act better at this time of year." So his switches he dropped, and he opened his sack, and he handed out oranges, yo-yos, and checks, a dolly for Ruth, and a wood horse for Amos. We laughed as we watched him, and who could blame us? And finally he gave to Abner a teddy. With that final gift to leave he was ready. But he said as he crawled over shingles and sticks, "I'll send over Stoltzfuss your broke roof to fix." Then he chumped the hole through up to his weight and plow, and he yelled to his livestock, "Get going, and now!" Down to the ground, and without no complaint, until we get done and the house is all ain't. They sprung off the roof to the yard way below, where they got stuck in near 40 inches of snow. And that Belschnickel yelled, brushing snow off his head, "Merry Christmas, zoo all! Now just go back to bed." The end. I hope you enjoyed the story, and I hope you have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and wonderful holidays with your family and friends.